Welcome to Women's Rugby Rundown 163 for July 22nd through the 28th. The Women's Rugby Sevens Paris 2024 Olympics are in full swing, with the medal quarterfinals coming up later today. Day one shattered the record for women's rugby attendance as 66,000 fans packed the Stade de France. China pulled off one of the biggest upsets by defeating the Tokyo 2020 bronze medalist Fiji. Ilona Maher has gone viral multiple times, and the heartwarming best friend saga between Michaela, Blyde and Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce is one of the most wholesome stories we've ever seen. Canada went undefeated in the first ever women's under-20s Transatlantic quad series and round up all the global and premier competitions worldwide. Get ready for a journey through the latest in women's rugby. This is your Women's Rugby Rundown, and we are about to kick off. Let's kick off with our Olympic Sevens news. Stay tuned after the tournament on Tuesday when it finishes. We'll have special coverage, making sure we get all of that. We, of course, are looking forward to the quarterfinals in a couple of hours. As I look at my clock, it's actually an hour. So by the time you watch this, it might be over. But the quarterfinals for the 2024 Olympics are New Zealand versus China. China, the surprise there, they had an upset win over Fiji. Fiji, of course, are the 2020 Tokyo bronze medalists who did very well in the HSBC 7 series, but did kind of have a slump towards the end, and then just have to wonder if the lack of support from their union and the long schedule perhaps affecting them. While China, coming off of a surge, they did well in the Challenger Series. The grand final, they won, of course, winning their place in the Olympics, that final repertoire tournament. So excited to see them play New Zealand. Of course, New Zealand will more than likely move on, but want to see what China can do with some of these core series teams. Great Britain versus USA, that's going to be another juicy one. Of course, we've got so many stars on the Great Britain side. Jasmine Joyce, Ellie Kildunn, who's featured here. And then, of course, the USA's Ilona Maher and her whole team. That one is going to be one that you can't miss. France, the hosts, doing very well, 3-0 in their pool, but they will see Canada formidable, who have seen some fantastic wins in 15s and 7s this year. Then our last one, Australia versus Ireland. Again, all of these are just fantastic matchups. Australia, of course, the Levi sisters tearing up the pitch, as well as Michaela, Blyde. And then Ireland, of course, we have Eve Higgins doing very well, and then Baven Parsons, of course, a star for that Irish side. So won't want to miss these, and we'll wrap these up after the tournament ends with another video. Another women's sporting attendance record shattered. This time it's women's rugby. 66,000 plus packed the Stade de France on day one of the 2024 Olympics for women's rugby. Fantastic to see this. Can't wait to see what the rest of the tournament brings us. China has the biggest upset of the tournament so far. I'll just move over so you can see that score. 40-12 over the defending 2020 Tokyo bronze medalists. And Fiji, on the core series, has been there for several years. Did very well at the start of the HSBC 7's 2024 circuit, but had a slump towards the end. And then now their Olympics not going the way they would like. But China riding high after doing very well in the Challenger Series, which is the series below the HSBC 7 series, and was brought in this year to help build out the teams for the HSBC 7 series next year. But regardless, doing very well in the Olympics. They'll face New Zealand in a quarterfinal coming up in less than an hour, and we wish them all the best as this team growing and doing very well. Ilona Maher was a well-known athlete before the Paris 2024 Olympics. She, of course, had a bunch of content Tokyo 2020 that put her on the radar for a lot of her new fans. But she's gaining more fans as she's gone viral again and again at the Paris 2024 Olympics. And now she's passed 1 million followers on Instagram. Absolutely fantastic for her. Of course, she's the most followed rugby player in the world when you count up all the social media accounts. So she's surpassed these two, Dupont himself winning, France Sevens winning for the Olympics on the men's side. But some really good content out there. Check out our site for a couple of those. You can see The Stiff Arm from NBC Sports, a new fan, just his experience of saying, man, she runs just like a college football player, and then a really good, funny account about Morgan Freeman and what it would be like to be on the other side of those stiff arms that she does. But just fantastic work for her, and a wonderful human being and genuine person as well. The best friend saga between Michaela, Blyde and Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce has been absolutely one of the most wholesome things we've ever seen on the internet. If you haven't seen Michaela's TikTok where she kind of puts it all into one, she essentially wanted to befriend Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce and then saw her in the cafeteria, was too nervous to talk to her. They talk on Instagram, they DM, and Michaela's reactions are just so beautiful. And then they actually do meet. And then, surprise, surprise, Shelly-Ann Fraser shows up to day one of the competition and can be heard screaming for her in the crowd. So just a beautiful moment where these athletes, get to know each other and then are out there rooting for each other. And of course, Jason and Kylie Kelsey have been seen at several women's sporting events at the Paris 2024 Olympics, but most notably Jason at the women's rugby event, meeting some of the USA Eagles, and then in an event before everything kicked off, Nicole Heverland challenged Jason to an arm wrestle. That's a great video we've got on our site. And then, of course, the video of Ilona Maher convincing Jason to become their super fan, just like water polo with Flavor Flav. And she gets him on board by saying, there's no rewards, no money. I can't even get you any swag, but I would love, with being a girl dad, if you would become a fan. And of course, Jason absolutely accepts, and it's just a beautiful moment. And a cool innovation at the Paris 2024 Olympics, the match officials are now sporting jerseys with their last names on them. And we think this is really interesting. It's an opportunity to humanize these people. They are humans, and that they have very difficult jobs. And so I think it's just a good way to also give them a bit of recognition. And it's cool to see some of those players become referees, and then we can then see them still have their name on their jersey. It's very interesting of the World Rugby to do this, and agree with Rugby Past. We should see this for other events. This announcement kind of snuck under the radar, so we want to make sure we call it out. This is PR7's. They launched a new campaign with Ariana Ramsey and Naya Tapper from the United States, and it's some new gear. Women Play Rugby apparel. I already snagged a shirt because it's just like this one. I love it from Together, so it's just like this one. And then we're going to get some hats and some other things, but hope to see lots of fans wearing these. Now switching over to 15's news, Canada went undefeated in the first ever women's under-20s Transatlantic Quad Series, beating the United States, England, and Wales, while the USA took second after their win against England. This is based on the matches they played, so of course there were some under-20 Six Nations matches that England and Wales were participating in. So a little bit of a skew there, but a very cool initiative, and we hope this continues along with the under-20 Six Nations event as well for the women. Madagascar already preparing for WXV3. They're hoping to have a warm-up match against Kenya. But for a nation that doesn't play very many 15s matches, is that going to be enough? They will face some very formidable opponents in WXV, and we, of course, wish them the best of luck. Georgia Rugby Union, or the Nation of Georgia, because there's also a Georgia Rugby Union in the United States, so it's a little confusing. But the Nation of Georgia participates in the Rugby Europe Championship for sevens, but they announced that later this year they're hoping to have their 15s debut, maybe in October. In Premier and Club news, Round 11 of the WPL saw two 100-plus point victories from Life West and Colorado Grey Wolves. They both hit the centenary mark. New York also got a win. This means when we look at the standings, the All Blues are still on top, but only 1 point ahead of New York and 5 ahead of the Colorado Grey Wolves. Looking ahead, we do have semifinals on September 14th, and looking like the All Blues have secured one spot. It's really just going to be a matter if there's going to be some leapfrogging here, and can Beantown get in on the action? It's going to be tight. After 14 rounds, South Africa's Premier Division has completed league play, and they now move into the semifinals next week. We will see the Bull Daisies, overall winners, will host the Border Ladies, while DHL Western Province will welcome Sandland-Boland Dames. This is going to be absolutely fantastic. We'll share any streaming information if we get it, but look forward to those semifinals next week. That's all the news we've got for you this week, except for our special coverage of the Olympics. As that tournament concludes on Tuesday, we'll have some more for you. If you never want to miss an episode of Women's Rugby Rundown, make sure to subscribe on Spotify, Patreon, or YouTube, and of course on all social media platforms.